What is going on, guys? So today I'm going to show you guys how to troubleshoot a DC error code on the Samsung washer. I've actually had this washer, let me see, when did I buy this washer? 2013, 14 or something like that. So way back when. So it's kind of old. It's kind of old, but I've actually had to replace the rods on it once. This is like 4 or 5 years ago. And it had a DC error code as well. But I want to show you guys how to troubleshoot this. Replacing the rods is actually really easy. And if that's the case, we can, I can show you in the video. But if it's not the case, the very first thing I always check is in here. So it doesn't show the error code here. So what actually happens here is when you put in a load of clothes, you run it, and when it gets to the spin cycle, the little thing in here, the little basket in here, it gets kind of unbalanced and it throws that error code. And that could be one of the rods being broken, one of the rods not being able to hold correctly. And then looking at this right now, it looks pretty even in terms of where it's leveled and all that stuff. But again, it could be worn out. Over time, it gets worn out. So those rods do need to get replaced at some point. But I want to show you guys what you need to troubleshoot first before you go and take everything apart and do the rods. All right, so here we are in the washer, and now what I'm going to check is this centerpiece in here. So there's like a little tab here, you can see. We're going to remove that little cap here with like a flathead or something like that. So let's grab a flathead real quick. All right, so here's our flathead, and what we're going to do is go down here. You just pry this little cap thing open. I already did it. And go ahead and just pop that guy out. Ooh, some nastiness in there. There you go. And also, if you need it to clean, whatever that is, you need to clean it as well. So we'll go ahead and rinse it off later. But in here as well, this is a 10 millimeters. So I get a 10 millimeter socket. And we'll go ahead and open that as well. All right, so this is the socket that you'll need to use. And I already kind of pre-loosened this, but what's going to happen is when you put this in here, you start turning this here, this thing is going to want to spin with it. So you're going to have to use both hands here, grab, hold on to this here and do this here. That way this thing doesn't move initially. And once it gets going, this comes off really easily. So this is already off. So I'm going to keep spinning this off real quick and then remove it. Once you get the screw out, in order to remove this piece out, there is a little hole in here on each end here that you can kind of stick your flathead in, and then all you do is lift up with it, and then once you lift up, it'll come up here. So let's go ahead and pull this up and take a look here. So what we're looking at is this right here and this little piece here. So if this is loose, then you need to tighten this down here. So sometimes this one big screw here gets loose, and that's what you need to tighten down. So this one looks like it's good. It's a little dirty here, so I'll probably clean this out while I'm in here. But that could be one of your issues where it throws off your DC error code. So for me, in my case, I'm gonna clean this up while I'm in here. But in my case, since this is good, we can rule out that this is not the issue. It's probably going to be the rods. All right, so the rods came in, and now we need to prep the washer in a direction where we can actually access everything. So because this area is kind of tight with the dryer here, so what we have to do is push the dryer back out. I had to take this apart, and because this thing is sitting on one of these water catcher unit, it's a little bit tough to shimmy this one out. So if you go back here, I disconnected that. I turned off the water lines. That's the first step, obviously. And then we're going to shimmy this out more. So I'm going to do this real quick so we can actually see which screws we're going to be taking apart. Okay, so we're in the back here. Also, the instructions are in the back here if you were trying to troubleshoot the error codes or whatever. There's going to be the screw over here. So that's 1, 2, and then 3. So let's go ahead and remove that, and that way we can take off the top. Alright, so those are the 3 screws that got removed, and also you got to remove this plate here because we're going to be picking this unit kind of upwards, the top piece up, so it can bend that plate, so that's why we have to remove it. Alright, so we're back out in the front here. What you'll need is a putty knife or some sort of thing that you'll shimmy back in here. So what you'll do is you're going to shimmy across here and you're going to pry it open. So I pried the first one open. It's like a lock or a hinge right here. You can kind of see the metal plate that locks right there into place. Same thing on this side. So what you can do is you can either run your thing across to here and you can pry it open. That metal plate right there is what you want. You should hear a click like that, and basically you get both of them up there like that, and then you can just go ahead and lift this whole thing up, and I'll show you in a second how to prop it up. So give me a second here. I got it all open here, but right before you actually lift it up, I forgot to mention this, you'll need some sort of tape. Just use some masking tape or some painter's tape and tape this down, because what's going to happen when you open this up is this door is going to keep wanting to open. So go ahead and just tape on the side real quick, so that way the door doesn't open up on you. Alright, so I have it propped up. I just used a PVC pipe that I had laying around. You can use a 2x4, you can use anything that can just prop this thing up. The one thing is, this right here and this right here, it actually sits in the back, and that's where the screw was. You have to lift it up and bring it forward to sit it on here, or else it's just gonna kind of want to fall back on you, okay? And also where you're propping it up is going to be where one of the rods are at, so just remember when you replace them, you can remove this on the other side or something like that and do the one end. Alright, so the rods itself is actually fairly easy to replace. So what you're going to do in each corner pretty much is you're going to grab the rod. I'm going to try to do this one hand and show you guys here. You're going to lift it up and out of this little hinge area, and same thing in the bottom. So once you lift this up from the top, the bottom you can just slid down and out, and that's it. And then you just have to get your new rods and just put it back in. But right before you put it back, everything in, make sure you grease it, and I'll show you what grease I'm using. And here's the grease that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this area a little bit, and it looks like the grease in these areas are kind of gone, and that could be one of the reasons why it's not like turning really well. But make sure you have some sort of grease or lubricant that you can use. And again, I'll link all this stuff in the description below if you guys can't find it or trying to find certain things. It's all through Amazon. So the good tip when you're doing this is just wear some sort of gloves to protect your hand, just because if you rub your hand against here, it's pretty sharp, you can cut yourself, and you don't want that. It just kind of sucks. It'll ruin your day if you get cut up for no reason. But just wear some gloves. Alright, it's gonna be a little bit hard to show you guys inside, but I want to show you guys out here real quick. So this rod here is the old rod, and as you can see, you know, it looks still fairly new, right? It just looks like it just needs to be lubricated. But here's the new rod right across from it. You just want to make sure that, you know, it matches up, so that way you know you're buying the right thing. So it matches up fairly well, same length and all that stuff. So what you want to lubricate is you want to put some under here, right under this area here, and then right here. And I'll show you guys inside too. I'll show you inside here. I'm doing the back one first, but basically where the rod sits, you want to lubricate that area. And then the one in the bottom is going to be caught right in this area, so you want to lubricate that area. All right, so we're on to our last one here. So I'm just going to show you guys. Be generous from the lube, just because you bought like this whole thing. You're going to be wasting it if you're not using it. Just apply it here. Rub it along there. All right. Rub it on top here. Just make sure that it gets all lubricated. Okay. All right, and we're good to go. So let's go ahead and put the last one in. All right, so I got all the rods replaced. The one tip I want to give you guys when you're removing these rods is, in order to remove these rods, use this as leverage. So you can go in here, pick this up, and the rod can come out. Same thing when you put it back in. You want to start with the bottom. So feed in the bottom, hook it in place, which is down there. And then you're going to have one hand on here, pull this up as high as you can so that you can lift this rod up and slide it in, and it will sit in. It's a little tricky because you don't want to pull this up too high, because when you pull it too high, you can release one of the other ones. So that's the one thing you got to be careful about. You don't want to pick this up too high. You want to pick it, it's like a sweet spot. You'll find it. But pretty much once you have everything in place, make sure everything's in. Because, you know, like I said, if you install this one, that one might get loose. You install this one, that one might get loose or something like that. So just make sure everything's sitting in place, and you kind of tell here by just looking at this and just kind of rotating this around, right? All the rods should be moving and doing its thing, right? So everything is correct. So now we're just going to do everything we did backwards, and let's put it all back together. All right, so I got everything back in place. The only thing left to do is turn it on. Make sure everything works. So let's put it on low. Let's just do a quick wash or something. Light. You basically want to make sure everything spins correctly. Nothing's crazy. Okay, so things are working. Alright guys, and that is it. That is how you troubleshoot a DC error code on your washer, and that is normally with the balancing rods, or like I said, that one screw that's right in the middle of this washer. So I hope this video helped you guys out. If you guys aren't subscribed yet, make sure you guys are subscribed. Like always, and that's some guys. Peace.